for a nice look-see-do. Who uses look-see-do?
Hi,
hey everybody!
Friends. We're here to do a tiny ad to invite you to check out our latest joint venture, and that is a podcast, which is what we're calling
Fandom Buzz, unsurprisingly the most.
So quickly tell them, what is Fandom Buzz exactly?
Right, so if Alexa Loves Books on this channel is pretty much us, you know, having book reviews and TBRs and book hauls, very bookish. The podcast is bookish too, and that's what I wanted to say. But think of it as like the break room for Alexa Loves Books. Like that's where all of the real feelings come out and all of the spoilers come out too. So it's pretty spoilery, pretty unhinged, still pretty PG, but definitely a lot of fun. So we do invite you to check that out.
A lot of fangirl and fanboy screaming.
Mostly fangirls.
Crying over there. So we hope you check it out. All of the other content that is non-bookish is also going to show up on there. So if you want to find out our thoughts on that, you should go over there. All the links will be down below. And now, on to our actual video.
Hey!
Hi, friends! It's time for one of our longest videos we ever film in any month. Although it's relatively shorter this month, and that is a book haul.
That's right.
This book haul will feature all the books that we acquired in the month of December.
2019, that's right. Yeah, last year.
Basically. Anyway, we're excited to show off all of the books that we got, but we're gonna start, well, I'm gonna start by showing you some of the unsolicited books that we got from publishers for review.
What do we get?
So, we're gonna start with A Good Man by Annie Katz, which has like a weird
it's a hose that's kind of like...
It says in the back, there was no way for anyone to know, least of all me, that it would all end the way it did.
That is ominous.
It has something to do with the main character, Thomas, doing something that's out of character for him, and now he's questioning his sense of self.
Okay, so kind of like a personal thriller.
You might want to check it out. This is from Penguin.
Introspective.
You've seen this before. I've shown it in another haul. This is The Will and the Wilds by Charlie N. Holmberg. It has something to do with a wildwood that has mistings in it. Main character Enna makes a deal with a misting to have him do her bidding, but then that deal obviously is not something the misting is eager about, so she either has to find a way to outwit him or he's gonna outwit her.
Interesting. Very kind of Rumpelstiltskin.
That one was from 47 North, which is an Amazon publishing company. Surprise, surprise, we've got more romance books for y'all. This is the romance content you came for. Okay.
That's right.
These are all...
just for you.
Yes, these are all from Avon Books, which makes my life easier. So first you have Sweet Talkin' Lover by Tracy Livesay, which is part of the Girls Trip novel series. And everything is on the line. Surrendering completely to love is your only choice. Two stubborn people torn between loyalty, ambition, and attraction. But when you're willing to give it your all, there's no limit to how far love can take you. Wow. So it's got a small town setting. It's got two sort of rival main characters. Secret She Keeps by Helen K. Diamond. Diamond or Divon, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Someone is watching her.
Oh no.
And waiting for the right moment to strike. This time Connor vows to be ready. Wow.
Wow, okay, that's...
So, this is probably one of the more romantic suspense titles.
Yeah, I was thinking it's got that little bit of...
Definitely check that out if you feel interested. This looks like an historical romance. It says Engaged to the Earl, which is part of the Penhallow Dynasty series, and it's by Lisa Byrne.
And it's like a real Earl, right? It's not like a dude who refers to himself in like the third person. I am the Earl. I have
no idea. Oh, okay. yeah, no, it's probably an actual Earl. This is actually an ARC copy of it. So it says A Spirited Debutante, a brash adventurer, the perfect fiancé, and good intentions gone terribly deliciously bad. The last one is called The Prince of Broadway. It's by Joanna Shupe, and I'm pretty sure I've
not Hal Prince, right?
Actually think I've shown this one in a previous haul, probably an arc of it. We're now going to move on to a quick unboxing, because we got this box. It says The Tenant, which is obviously spoilery for what's in it, but might as well unbox it while we're here.
Is in it?
Creepy. Okay. So, ooh, pretty postcard that says Copenhagen.
There, and see Copenhagen. There, that's how you do it.
Yes, there you go. And there is a postcard for The Tenant, right?
It's not like David, obviously.
I mean, if it were, do you think I would have waited so long?
It's actually Georgia.
There's actually a box in here, so we're going to take a second to unbox it.
Ooh. What is inside?
A mug. That's what it is.
Ooh.
Ooh, oh my gosh, look how pretty that is.
That is a pretty mug here.
It's a mug with this like row of houses on it, which looks really cool. There's actually soap in it.
Ah, soap.
And obviously there is an advanced copy of The Tenant, which is by Katrine Engberg, an international best-selling author. Look, it's one of those books with a picture on the back and doesn't even have a description, so I can't tell you what it's about.
The card, however, has some kind of description. Who killed the tenant? Be the first to solve the mystery with an early look at the tenant in stores January 28, 2020.
Stieg Larsson has Stockholm, Joe Nesbo has Oslo, and now Copenhagen belongs to Katrine Engberg.
Wow.
This is like
That's a nice blurb
Interesting.
about the
I know,
author.
that's really cool.
I guess they lived in Copenhagen and they were
Probably.
murdered. You know who doesn't have Copenhagen anymore?
That's
Japan.
it.
Just saying.
Anyway, thank you so much to Gallery Books for sending this along. By the way, before I close it, look at this box though.
It is gorgeous.
It's
and
got
it is,
like, okay, we're trying not to spill the worms here, but look at that. It has like, I don't know if you can see it, like a map on it, which is pretty dang cool. Those are all of the unsolicited review books that we received. Moving right along, what have you gotten that you want to share with everyone?
marginally unsolicited, but definitely worth a look. It's called The Knights Club. 2 books, actually. It's called The Comic Book You Can Play. So we've got volumes 2 and 3 here. So I'm thinking it happens a little bit after volume 1. It feels like a comic version of sort of
Choose Your Own
Adventures. And I found something like this as well, but as a graphic novel for kids that are a little older, this seems a little bit more on the younger scale of middle grade when kids actually do start reading. I think Choose Your Own Adventure books are making a comeback.
Yeah,
In the
I think
form
so, too.
of, you know, go to 92 if you decide to take
used
the
to love
sword
those.
or whatever it is. And so definitely something that would be recommended. Volume 2 is called The Message of Destiny. So that sounds like a fun adventure. And then volume 3 is called The Buried City. When there's like a zombie up in there, and I thought, this looks pretty interesting. Speaks to my Dungeons and Dragons loving
I
heart.
was about to say, that's what it sounds like to me.
Alrighty.
All right, moving right along, we're going to talk about review books that I got that were sort of solicited. Some of them were technically still unsolicited, but I knew about them before the book showed
And
up in the
therefore,
mail.
on the
Therefore, it
review pile.
feels like it. First, we have Super Adjacent, which is by Crystal Sestari, and it says, dating a hero isn't always super.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Is dating a superhero hard? Yeah, it's nuts. In a fresh and funny take on the world of supers, author Crystal Sestari spotlights what it's like to be the seemingly non-super half of a dynamic duo, with a banter-filled romance and bold rescues perfect for readers seeking a great escape. The non-super character, Claire, has always wanted to work with superheroes, and then she wants to prove sort of that she belongs to this. They actually call their like hero company Warrior Nation. There is a new hero, a young one, named Girl Power. Her real name is Joy. And Claire sort of finds her fascinating. And then there's Bridget, who is part of Warner, and she just wants to leave. Because she's also a normal person, but she's been dating one of their big superheroes, and now she's kind of like,
Fair.
bye. But apparently things get complicated when all the supers go missing, and guess who has to save the day?
Oh, that's cool. And I like
ready.
that. I like that subverting trope where it's like the human friends who end up going, we're gonna have to save everybody today. So I think that's cool.
The next book came with some goodies. So the first thing is this name tag. It says Kit Sweetly, if you can read that, and it says Knight. She crossed out her actual designation is Wench, in case you're
Wench!
And there's also this very cute rubber duck that
It's
has,
a
it's a
night duck. It's a duck with like a full suit of armor.
It's
It's
adorable.
like a
isn't
sword
it?
and I want this. This
Yes,
is
you
mine
can
now.
have it. And the book that it came with is The Life and Medieval Times of Kit Sweetly by Jamie Pacton. And it says Joust Like a Girl, which I'm living
I
for.
respect.
It says Moxie meets a knight's tale as Kit Sweetly slays sexism, bad bosses, and bad luck to become a knight at a medieval-themed restaurant. So the main character, Kit, wants so badly to be a knight at the medieval times restaurant she works at because her brother was one and she's always just wanted to be one of them. But they never let her do it because she's a girl. She decides to take her brother's place, pretend to be a brother, so she can be a knight. And I'm sure shenanigans ensue, which is my favorite kind of contemporary story, so I'm here for it. And this one was sent by Page Street Books, so thank you very much for that. This other one was sent by Disney, which also thank you for that. Another Disney book is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. Love this cover, it's very striking. It says, I am Renata Convida. I have lived 100 stolen lives. Now I live my own. Renata was only a child when she was kidnapped by the King's Justice and brought to the luxurious palace of Andalusia. As a memory thief, the rarest and most feared of the magical Moria, Renata was used by the crown to carry out the King's wrath, a siege that resulted in the deaths of thousands of her own people. Now Renata is one of the Whispers, rebel spies working against the crown. The Whispers may have rescued her years ago, but she can't escape their mistrust and hatred, or overpowering memories of the hundreds of souls she drained during her time at the palace.
Crazy.
When Des, the commander of her unit, and the boy she's going to love, is taken captive by the notorious Principe Dorado, Renata must return to Andalusia and complete Des's top-secret mission herself. Can she keep her cover, even as she burns for vengeance against the brutal, enigmatic prince? Her life and the fate of the Moria depend on it. Ooh,
That sounds
she's gonna get
fun.
involved in court intrigue. I am living.
That sounds like a
so
lot
excited
of fun.
for this.
Okay.
This is coming out in April 2020. Thank you so much, Disney, for sending along an advanced copy. We've got 2 finished copies that I'm pretty stoked about. First is this beautiful hardcover of Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. And this is also from Page Street Books. I actually have read this one. You'll see it coming up in a future What We Read. But basically it is a Bolivian-inspired YA fantasy story about a girl who is pretending to be the Condesa of her country, and she has to go and meet the enemy king because he wants to marry the actual Condesa, so she's going there to try and sabotage those plans, you know, so they can take back their country. It's really cool to see how Bolivian culture is integrated into this story. The one thing I want to specifically mention here is if you like reading things that mention a lot of food, this one is a brilliant choice. Also, the author herself actually illustrated this cover, and it makes so much sense what she chose to illustrate on it once you've read the book. So definitely check that out. And then we have a release I also read before the year ended, Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey, which is the second book in her Hot and Hammered series. This is a second chance romance between Dominic and Rosie. They're a married couple who are having some problems in the first book. And in this one, at the very beginning, Rosie wants to get a divorce. And they decide to give themselves another chance to work out what's wrong within their relationship. And I actually really enjoyed it. I can see why some people might not gel so well with this story, but I liked how it explored their relationship, but more on that in What We Read. For now, thank you so much to Avon Books for sending along this finished paperback copy.
We're gonna start segueing now towards the gifted things that we have been gifted with. And I have quite a few. I know, lots of gifts, lots of presents, because Christmas!
Christmas!
Lots and lots of... I want to start with easily my favorite and the most thoughtful of all of the gifts that I've received. It's a book that's called Save the Cat Writes a Novel. The last book of novel writing you'll ever need by Jessica Brody, based on the books by Blake Snyder. So it is obviously one of those self-help books for writers that don't involve too much coffee and alcohol, and is a practical guide to actually writing. Save the Cat is a story writing kind of trope technique or buzzword that's been going around the industry. I say that like I'm in it, but a friend of mine, he is a filmmaker in Manila. He basically just says save the cat, give the character a save the cat aspect to it. And for you budding writers out there, or even seasoned ones, it's a hook into, you know, getting people to like your character without being too contrived. So they need to be able to save the cat, so the people that read them are like, oh, that makes sense. So interested to read the entire process behind it. So thank you, Alexa, for one of the best Christmas presents ever. This next book was gifted to me by a friend of mine who I reconnected with because he was friends with my brother when they were in grade school. And I had no idea he was living in New York. He had no idea I was living in New York. Well, I met him again through Alexa's sister.
Isn't it such a
which is like the
small
weirdest
world,
thing. And he gave me Red Rising.
Which is cool, because I also want to read that.
So Red Rising is a book. It's kind of like Game of Thronesy meets kind of the Hunger Games in like space. And I did see this a couple of BAs ago, and I thought, wow, what an interesting book. So I finally get a copy of the first one, and so very much looking forward to reading that. And speaking of red things, this is what I did ask for.
I like how it's color coordinated.
I know, everything's red. Speaking of my sister-in-law, this is what she got me that I asked for when we did our little Secret Santa thing. It is a complete set of all the Battle Angel Alita, well, manga actually. It's got all the volumes, it's got all of the extra stuff. So it's the full story. Now, my love for Battle Angel Alita happened when I decided to, on a whim, give the movie a shot. It was actually cool. I liked it. I actually genuinely liked it. And I thought, my gosh, what kind of lore do we have? And so I just needed to know what happens next. So very much looking. They look really cool. So heavy, but they're really, really cool. On that note, the last Christmas present that I had that I totally blew off on, like reading material, was a Comixology gift card that I have since then redeemed for the most part. I already used yours. There's just a lot of comics that I need in my life. Starting with finally getting all of the extra Avatar, The Last Airbender graphic novels that I didn't have. So there's a graphic novel called Imbalance, and then there is Team Avatar Tales. Okay. So that's, I guess, more collected stories. Cool. On a completely random note, because I've been, okay, for those of you who don't know, I'm like many of us out there who rarely ever talk about it anymore. I've been a fan, always have and always will be, of the Power Rangers. And I don't just mean like I have a special love for, like, you know, the first I mean, like, this is like the background noise of, I just really love the OG sort of Power Rangers. And I'm talking like Jason, Zach, and Trini, and like Kimberly and Billy, and then the greatest ranger of all time. I don't think anybody's gonna argue that, Tommy Oliver. When the graphic novels came out for the Power Rangers, I thought, okay, cool, they're just sort of reviving the series and getting stuff in, until they did something really crazy. It's still on YouTube right now. They put out an ad with Tommy Oliver as a villain in another alternate universe where he didn't break away from Rita Repulsa's grip, and he becomes Lord Dracon or Lord Drakon or whoever, and he starts systematically killing all the Power Rangers.
Okay.
And it takes every Power Ranger everywhere to stop him. So I had to pick those up. So I was able to get Mighty Morphin Power Rangers called a Shattered Grid. That's what the whole thing is called because he's trying to invade the grid and like destroy whatever. And then I was also able to get sort of like a tangent story, almost a redemption arc of an older Tommy Oliver with a son in the future who was part of the SPD, which is super awesome.
Yeah.
Called Soul of the Dragon. So it's kind of like a gritty noir. He's got like a broken down morpher and it can only just really just morph just the one last time because it's destroying the power coins on the inside of it. I thought it was just really, really great. So that was fun. Did a little bit of catch up. I got the 4th graphic novel in the Batman and Robin series before the New 52, you know, and you'll see that sort of on the cover there. I also got Superman Earth 1 Volume 3. I got all the Witcher comic books.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. Toss a coin to your Witcher's publisher. So that's Buffy the Vampire Slayer Volume 1. This is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot featuring, you know, Buffy starts to, you know, first time Buffy comes to Sunnydale. I have so many feelings about this. You'll hear
in the What We Read.
In the What We Read, and so much more on the podcast. I also got Superman Batman number 75, just the one singular issue because this is the one with just the one spread where Tim is asking advice from Dick about him kissing Cassie while Connor died. And Connor flying next to Clark asking him advice about the kiss. You know, without spoiling it too much, it's just Tim and Dick. Dick dressed as Batman, like on a rooftop, and Dick going, dude, you should have done that. And then it's Superman just going, yeah, I don't like to think of what ifs, you know, so it's really fun. That's why I bought it. And then Death, the deluxe edition. So that was on sale too. I love Death from the Sandman. Who doesn't? Got her thing. I finally got Titans Volume 3, Judas Among Us. That's in the Titans Rebirth series. The Adventures of the Super Sons Volume 1, which is really sort of what the next installment of the Super Sons are. Very, very cool. For free, and that's just, but I want to put it in there as a thing. There was the X-Men Holiday Special was out for Christmas, where every day of Christmas there was a one-page thing happening to some of the X-Men. Super cool. And finally, the greatest steal pretty much of all time, because Brian K. Vaughan is a genius, the entire Saga Compendium number 1. Every Saga book ever written so far.
That's amazing.
All in one place.
Now I'm going to have to commandeer this account to read it.
And that is the point. So yeah, those are my Christmas presents for the year, and I had way too much fun. Hunting them all down and sort of culling the process and going all, you know, Hunger Games tribute on them, and said, we're gonna take you out of the cart and you are the victors. And those were all of my Comixology wins, I want to say. So thanks to Ian, who was so generous, and by the way, I should text him. So this is proof that I will text you. And thank you personally for making my Christmas extra comicsy.
Extra comical. Okay, so my turn to share about the gifts that I got that are bookish. So first is a gift from my friend DJ. He'll be linked down below, of course. DJ actually got me a finished copy of something I've already read, and I just wanted it for my bookshelf. And that book is Emergency Contact, which is by Mary H.K. Choi, and this is the beautiful hardcover. Emergency Contact is the story of Penny and Sam, two people who end up becoming sort of text buddies, and they're each other's emergency contact in the story. And there's a lot more to it than that, but I just really enjoyed this story and how everything played out. Plus, it's always fun to read a contemporary novel set in college. I always find that very, very intriguing. So thank you so much, DJ, for this finished copy. Speaking of people absolutely spoiling me, Kristen from Super Space Chick got me a bunch of things. So we're gonna start with the first volume of Snow White with the Red Hair by Sarada Akiduki. And you guys, I've talked about Snow White with the Red Hair, I'm pretty sure, on this channel at some point. It's basically the story of a girl named Shirayuki, and she's famous for her really bright red hair, and the prince of the kingdom she lives in, Tanbarun, wants to marry her. She decides that she's not having that, and she goes and escapes into a neighboring kingdom and meets a young man named Zen and his two friends, and things kind of take off from there, and it's great. I've watched most of the anime. I've stopped at a point where I'm just like, they're in a good place and I don't want anything bad happening. I only have a couple more episodes left, but this is the first volume of the manga. Very excited to have it for my shelf. The second thing that Kristen got me, which still makes me laugh because I literally just rearranged my shelves and now I have to find room for this as well. It is a copy of the first graphic novel of The Mortal Instruments. The story is obviously by Cassandra Clare, but the illustrations are by Cassandra Jean. Okay, we all know at this point that we're Shadowhunters garbage. not even gonna pretend like it's not true. This is basically the first installment of the adaptation of that series in graphic novel form. I'm not sure if it covers the entirety of City of Bones. I doubt it somehow. I think it's probably just a part of it, so I guess I'll have to read it and find out, but yeah, it's pretty cool to have. And the last thing she got me is pretty special because I know it's one of Kristen's all-time favorite books, and we're going to be reading it together this year at some point. I can't remember which part of the year we're reading it together. But she got me the beautiful Mina Lima edition of Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Right now, I'm actually reading a Mina Lima edition and loving it because of the interactive elements, so I'm super excited to read Peter Pan and have that same experience. I actually can't remember if I've ever read Peter Pan. Like, I have seen it enough times to actually know the story the way other people have told it, but I've never read the original. So I am very curious.
It hurts.
I'm so excited to get to it at some point this year. So thank you, Kristen, for your very generous gifts. And now we're going to talk about a gift to myself because, you know, there's a sale on Book Outlet for Thanksgiving weekend. And all of these books came in the month of December. So we're just going to pretend like they count for December instead of November. So the first is a book that I acquired because A, I did not realize Mackie had all of these books on his Kindle. In the series, all of the books in the series.
Because it did not come up.
And B, I'm going to be reading it for the paranormal book club that I do, which is very casual. I do it with DJ and Kristen and my friend Rachel. And the book is Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. I have actually read this, and I remember distinctly that it is one of the books that actually gave me the heebie-jeebies. Like, I really remember this. It's probably because I was reading it, like, late at night, and it's all witchy.
But it's so cool.
And atmospheric. But I really enjoyed it. It's about two characters. There's Lena Duquesne, who is a person who's pretty much unlike the ordinary people who live in Gatlin. She and her family kind of have a very magical heritage of sorts.
Scandalous magical heritage.
Yeah, basically, if we're gonna, you know, wrap that up. We also have Ethan Wade, who basically just wants to leave Gatlin until
find
he
the
realizes...
Millennium Falcon, that kind of thing.
Until he realizes that the girl that he's been seeing in his dreams a lot is Lena. And so they have this undeniable connection thing going on for them. I cannot wait to reread this with everyone. It's going to be so fun. The next book is one that is funny to me because all three of my friends, the ones I just mentioned, didn't necessarily love this book. I just wanted to give it a shot because I love this author's second book. So the book is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. It's a fairy book. In it, the main character, Isabel, is like a prodigy at painting, and then she often gets invited to paint people from the fairy side of things. Okay. But she makes a mistake of painting a prince, a fairy prince, with sorrow in his face, which is sort of a weakness on there, and then so she kind of has to fix that problem.
This is why I hate fairies.
Looking forward to checking that out. The next book I picked up is an older YA contemporary book. I picked it up because it's one of Rachel's favorite books, and it's one of the only ones I haven't read yet off her list of like favorite underrated contemporary books. And the book is called The Survival Kit by Donna Freitas. 16-year-old Rose Madison has it all. She's a cheerleader, dating the captain of the football team, but then ever since her mom died, the things don't really matter to her. The one thing that she has right now that her mom left her is a thing called Rose's Survival Kit, and it includes a bunch of things that her mom curated for her and left behind. And nice. So she kind of goes through the entire kit over the course of this story, and I'm really looking forward to checking it out for myself and hopefully loving it as much as Rachel does. I picked up something else that I wanted to add to my collection, and that's 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, which is edited by Ellen O and Elsie Chapman, and this is 15 retellings of Asian myths and legends. And it's really cool. I actually really enjoyed how they combined the different stories to, like, how they came up with the different stories is what I should say. They sort of give you an idea of what the original myth or legend was, and then they kind of do that. They tell their own version of it, and it's really interesting. It's a mix of fantasy and sci-fi, so that part also really intrigued me, and I enjoyed quite a few of the stories, and I wanted to have this on my shelf. And then I acquired two classics, just because I could. The first is this pretty edition of The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which I've actually read. Here's the problem, though. When I read it, probably a lot of it went over my head, because I was pretty young. I think I was like 12 or 13. Really? And at the time, I wasn't really reading a lot of classic books, so I was just reading for entertainment, and I was like, okay, that's that. I guess it's over. So I am curious to see how I'd feel about it as an adult. And the last thing I got is this edition, the Knickerbocker Classics edition of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I ended up getting this one after talking to my cousin Carmela, who has read a couple of Charles Dickens books. And she was like, I think Great Expectations is the one I like better than A Tale of Two Cities. So I wanted to have it so I could eventually read it as well. Hopefully. We'll see. It's part of my classics reading project. We'll see if that happens. Those are all the books that we acquired in the month of December. We'd love to know what you guys picked up during the month of December. Did you guys get any like Christmas gifts that are books, or like gift cards you used to acquire more books or comics?
Totally.
We'd love to know. And if you have read anything in this video that's TBR stuff for us, let us know as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And we will see you guys for a new video soon. Bye!
Bye.